That is playing with fire right there with $9 in your bank account.
That's when I borrowed money from my mom.
So your total auto and transport bill is $878 a month, almost as much as your rent. How many different credit cards do you have?
I don't know.
What are you doing on Afterpay and Klarna? If you want any chance to get out of this debt, that's got to stop.
Well, I'm Jacqueline. I'm 51 years old. I'm calling in from Boston, Massachusetts.
What do you do for a living, Jacqueline?
I'm an ABA therapist, which means I help kids with autism.
How much you make a year doing that?
Well, I make $29 an hour, so it depends. My hours vary. So
How many hours a week do you typically work?
about 40 hours.
Should be about $60,000 a year.
Yes,
And how long have you been doing that for?
since July 2023.
What did you do prior to that?
Prior to that, I was a substitute teacher. I lived in Virginia at the time.
And how much did you make a year as a substitute teacher?
Probably around 40,000.
What made you jump into the new role?
Well, I wanted to be with family members, and my family members are all in Boston, so I just moved back here because I lived in Virginia for a little while, and then I moved back.
So moved in, got a little pay increase then, from $40,000 to $60,000 at least, sounds like.
Yeah, yes.
Great. And how would you kind of rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of finances? 1 being horrific, 10 being picture perfect.
I would say about a 5.
Why do you say that?
Well, I'm not really good at budgeting. I'd like to get better at that. I have a lot of credit card debt because I spend a lot.
If we're not budgeting, if we have credit card debt, out the gate, I probably won't put you at a 5. We'll start with the credit card debt then. How much credit card debt do we have?
I have a total of probably around 6,000.
And how long has that been going on for?
Well, it's increased over the years. It was around 3,000 when I started out, and now it's up to 6,000. So it's been going on for about 3 or 4 years.
You've been carrying a $3,000 credit card balance for a few years now.
Yes.
Oh, wow. You got a pay increase in the last 6 months, but all that money has just continued to flow out the door, it sounds like then. So you do have a budgeting problem.
Yes, and I have a new car.
And a new car. Okay, so that means we got a car loan then. What is the car loan balance?
It's 22,000.
What did you buy the car for?
25.
What is your monthly payment on that car?
528.
Ooh, that is not a fun car payment to have. What's your interest rate on that car payment?
I believe it's 16%.
16% interest rate on your car?
Yes.
Did you finance the entire $25,000 or did you put some money down?
I put some money down.
Okay, so what was the total loan balance?
Well, let's see. I didn't put that much down. I think I put down 2,500. So the total loan balance would have been 27,500.
Oh, so you took a loan for $25,000 and the car was $27,500 is what you're saying? So you put down $2,500, car loan $25,000, and now it's about $22,000?
Yes.
And is that over a 5-year term or is it 6 years? Do you know how long the duration of the loan is?
It's 6 years. 6.
Okay. And how long have you had the car for?
Since December of 2022.
Okay, so we're a year into it. Ooh, that is not a fun amortization schedule looking at that if we're at 16% interest. You paid $3,000 down on the principal in 12 months with over $6,000 in payment. So 50-50 basically split, it sounds like.
It's actually interest top heavy.
That's how loans work. It's all paid up in the first few years is where the most interest is paid. Then it slowly starts paying down the principal.
Yeah.
So buying a $27,000 car while you're making $40,000 then, because this was prior to you getting this new job.
Yes.
What made you go and finance a $27,000 car then?
Well, my car that I had previously, which was a car that I only owed $5,000 on, got totaled. And I kind of got roped into this new car with the dealership. You know how they say, you need to get into something new, so you'll have the warranty to cover you and everything.
They're salespeople. You have to stay away from that. Jacqueline, you got roped into what make them more money.
Right.
That is not fun. I mean, looking at your amortization schedule, I'm looking at right now, I mean, each month that you're paying $528, it looks like. Over $300 of that is going towards interest, and just over $200 is going towards the principal. So debts, we have the credit cards at $6,000, car loan at $22,000. Do we have any other debt?
Well, my student loans are thankfully paid off. So any other debt? Rent, just regular living.
Rent's not debt. That's just a living expense. So student loans, you have none of those. Any personal loans or any other debts?
No.
So we got $28,000 worth of total debt. Then what assets do we have?
Just a savings and checking account.
Okay, and how much is in your bank accounts right now?
Probably less than $200.
Jacqueline, where's this money going?
I shop a lot.
You shop a lot. At least you admit it. So $200 between your different accounts. Do we have any retirement accounts, any 401ks, any IRAs, anything there?
No.
Nothing. Okay. And what is the current value of your car?
I think the current value is 19,000.
Oh, so you're underwater on it then.
Yes. Even though it does only have 30,000 miles.
So when your car got totaled, you had $5,000 left on it. Did insurance cover the rest of that, or did you roll that into the new loan?
The insurance covered the totaled car.
Okay, so they covered the total car, but now you bought this. I guess you bought this car when car prices were going crazy at the end of 2022.
Yes, and when the interest rates were sky high.
You got stuck with a 16% interest rate, which is not a pretty picture.
Right.
So total assets, we have $19,000 in the car, $200 in your bank account, and then we got $28,000 in debt across the board. We're at a negative $8,800 net worth. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
What are, I guess, your current financial goals? Do you have any, or have you started planning out what you want to do for retirement or saving or any of that right now?
Well, my current financial goals, I'm not getting to the future goals yet because I have to work on the current ones first, is to get my credit cards paid down to like a 30% to 30% balance so that my credit can be better.
I would say that is frankly, I'd say it's not a good goal. Because don't just go halfway and say, hey, I want to get this down to 30%. Let's go all the way and say, hey, let's get this down to 0% balance on these credit cards so that then you can start looking at other goals and aspirations in the long term. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds good.
Okay. What long term, let's just pretend the credit card debt, car loans are paid off. What is your long-term financial goals?
To buy instead of renting.
Okay, and why is that?
I know where my money's going, and it's actually a better option to own than to rent because when you're renting, the money's just going out the door.
Can I challenge you on that real quick?
Yes.
So a lot of people have the perception that renting is throwing money away. It's always worse off than buying. Buying is always better off is what a lot of people say. Statistically, in the United States right now, I think it's 90% of cities are actually cheaper to rent in than they are to buy because of interest rates right now are higher. I mean, back in 2020, 2021, we had interest rates that were sub 4%. Now mortgage rates are 6 to 7 to even 8%. And then what a lot of people look at when they're renting versus buying is they say, oh, my rent is $2,000 a month. I can go get a mortgage for $2,500. I'm paying down the principal on this mortgage. But it's the same situation as your car loan is most of that payment is actually going towards interest in the first 10 to 15 years. So if you look at a home amortization schedule, we'll call it a $300,000 loan over 30 years at a 7% interest rate. Your monthly payment would be $2,000 a month, and that doesn't account for taxes, home insurance, PMI, any of that. After year one, you'd pay roughly $24,000 in payments towards the principal and interest. $21,000 out of that $24,000 is going strictly to interest alone.
Wow.
So only $3,000 that's going towards principal. And that's because interest rates are higher. If you even if you had a 3% interest rate, your monthly payment would go down to be $1,264 a month, and you'd have $9,000 towards interest and $6,000 towards principal. So it's a little bit better equated there. But that's one of the things right now is why renting is sometimes a better option than buying, because your amortization schedule is so, frankly, not in your favor when you have a 7% interest rate or higher or 6% or even 5%. So a lot of the money is going towards interest than it is the principal. And so that's one of the common misconceptions in home buying right now is people say, hey, rent is throwing my money away, when in theory, if you're buying a house, you're also throwing money away towards interest. And yes, there is the appreciation side of home ownership where home prices have historically gone up 3% year over year over the last few decades, higher in some cities. But also the way housing prices have increased over the last few years, plus interest rates, the average cost of a home has increased drastically over the last few years. Interest rates have increased, which makes it even more unaffordable to buy houses. There are pros of buying houses as well, but home ownership is not as glamorous and not as money-friendly as people think it is compared to renting. And also what people don't think of is, say you have a $2,000 a month mortgage payment towards the principal and interest. You have maybe $400, $500 in property taxes and insurance, so $2,500 there. But that doesn't account for home maintenance. It doesn't account for HOA fees. It doesn't account for home repairs when stuff breaks. Like home maintenance, it's not a small cost. You might have a new roof that's $10,000. You might have a new AC unit that's $10,000. And there's a lot of costs associated with it. Home ownership can also be a curse if you go into it thinking, hey, this is better than renting. You don't have an emergency fund saved up. You have credit card debt, and you don't know that, hey, you need to be saving money every single month for home maintenance. So there are benefits of renting, and with costs right now, with home prices increasing drastically, with insurance rates increasing, that it's very frankly, it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy in a lot of areas in America. So.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't even think about that.
And the last thing is, like, if you don't have an emergency fund set up, and right now in your instance where you said you have a problem shopping, have a problem spending money, and we see that with a credit card debt, and the car loan is pretty expensive too, then it's going to be very difficult for you to make sure you're saving money when you have a house, and it's just going to lead to more debt. So, like, if you bought a house in this instance right now, I'd never suggest someone to buy a house when you have a 16% car loan and a 24% credit card debt that's outstanding right now. Because if that roof breaks month 2, month 3, or month 12 before you get that cleaned up, it's just going to end you up in more debt. And I want that to be a goal for you. That is a great long-term goal to have, is buy a house and to be able to live where you want, when you want, decorate it, everything else you want to be. But you need to make sure that you're doing stepping stones along the way to get yourself in a financial spot that makes sense to buy a house.
Yes, makes sense.
Any other long-term financial goals you have?
I'd like to start saving for my retirement, even though I don't plan to retire at the traditional 65. I plan to work longer.
Definitely need to start thinking about saving for retirement. Again, that comes after the debt, because right now you can't out-save credit card debt and a 16% car loan. But that definitely needs to be a goal, because whether you want to or not, I mean, you're going to want to retire one day. You're going to want to have some financial stability. And it's going to, every single year that you put off paying off your debt and being able to save and invest for retirement, it makes it harder and harder to get to the number that you want to retire. And if you start saving for retirement when you're 20, it makes it a lot easier to hit that $1 million threshold or $500,000 threshold that you want to hit by your 67, versus right now, starting at 51, you have 30 years that you haven't been saving compared to someone that's might be 20, just graduated from college and able to start saving for retirement. So that means once you're out of debt, you're going to have to start saving aggressively for retirement, because I hope for your sake, Social Security's here when you're 67, but there's no telling where that's going, what's going to happen with it. Where are you from, and what was your childhood like growing up?
Well, I'm originally from the island of Barbados. My childhood was a lot of fun, going to the beach, just living on an island living, just laid back, very laid back. And then I moved to the Boston, Massachusetts area when I was 9. So basically grew up here too.
How did you kind of view and see your parents approach money and talk about money?
Actually, I saw my mom struggle with money, after she got a divorce, and she was a single parent at that time. So she really had to struggle with raising us and working as well. I saw my mom in a lot of debt, and I think that's followed me as well, and kind of spending a lot and kind of living beyond my means.
We'll kind of talk to that, because right now, obviously, that is showing that you're kind of taking on those habits, overspending, living beyond your means. I mean, you know the right terminology, you know the right words, you know budgets, and sounds like now it's just figuring out how do we take those lessons and learns that sounds like and apply them to your life to get your life and financial life back on track. So we talked about student loans a little bit earlier. You said those are paid off. So what did you study in college?
I went to Boston University. I studied psychology.
Awesome. And have you been using that degree ever since you graduated? What's your career path look like since you graduated from college?
Yeah, I've basically been a teacher a lot of my life. And now, like I said, I'm an ABA therapist. So I'm using my psych degree toward helping others, mostly children.
Okay. And how much did you take out in student loans when you went to Boston?
Well, it wasn't a lot because it wasn't as expensive as it is now. I did actually graduate at the top of my class in 1997. So I think my highest loan was $8,000.
$8,000 total, or $8,000 across a couple different loans?
$8,000 total, because I got a scholarship as well.
Awesome. That's great then, because right now I'm looking at their tuition and fees, and it's $65,000 a year for tuition and fees, not including room and board. So, wow, not cheap. I mean, it's a great university. $83,000 a year between tuition and fees and room and board. So,
wow, that's a lot.
Glad those loans are no longer. Did you pay them off quickly, or kind of what was your debt payment schedule kind of look like with those loans?
Just paid them monthly based on what they were asking of me.
Okay, so it's always paying the minimum payments on them until they got paid off?
Yeah, it was doable at the time, because when I graduated, I had a job straight out of college that was pretty lucrative. I was making $27 per hour, and this was back in the 90s. So
making $54,000 a year back in the 90s versus, I guess, you're paying about 60 right now. So yeah, definitely a higher income then. So okay, well let's run through your budget sheet you sent over then. So net income you said is about $2,700 a month, which that seems quite low in terms of your net income each month. Is that how much your pay stubs are?
Yeah, the net income is after the taxes come out, right?
Yes.
I guess I may have made an error on that.
Because you said you're making $29 an hour, so that's about $60,000 a year. So it's about $5,000 gross in income a month, which should put you at about just under $4,000 a month after taxes. I'm assuming, is there health insurance taken out of your account as well before that?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go through the bank statement and see where the payroll stuff is. What is Citizens Paid Early? Do you know what that is for $1,900?
Oh, that's just because, for example, if payday is on Friday, they'll pay on Wednesday because that bank has that policy. So they'll pay early.
Take a fee for that?
There's no fee. It's just the way how they do things at that bank.
Okay, so Citizens allows you to do that. We've got 3 payrolls basically during this time period for $1,900, $942, and then $756. So that's $3,600 in net income there. So that's what we'll use to kind of base off your numbers. And that sounds about more accurate. Okay, so $3,600 in net income. We have rent is $1,050 a month right now, with home utilities at $60 a month. Are you living by yourself, or do you have any roommates?
By myself.
By yourself, okay. And this is the big kicker. Auto and transport. We got car insurance for $200. We have our car payment for $528. We've got gas for $150. So your total auto and transport bill is $878 a month, which is almost as much as your rent, which is crazy.
Yes.
Groceries, we got $250. So that brings your total necessities to $2,238. We've got subscriptions for $65. We've got gifts and donations for $300. We've got shopping for $50, which sounds like that's not accurate. That brings your total fund money to $415, which means your total living expenses would be $2,653, with an additional about $350 a month in credit card minimum payments, which would put your total living expenses at $3,000, which that means there should be $600 left over somewhere. But given that the bank account's at $200 and the credit card bill continues to climb, that $600 is going shopping or something.
Probably eating out and going out.
We talked about wanting to get out of debt, lower your credit card utilization, and building for retirement. So step number 1 for that, which sounds like you already know, is you have to live below your means. And living below your means is, if you're making $3,600 a month, you have to be spending less than $3,600, including all your living expenses, all your debt payments, everything else in between. The only way to build wealth, to get out of debt, is to live below your means. And that means we need to have a budget that we set up. And right now, if you had this budget and you stuck to these metrics, is you have $0 in eating out, so it sounds like we're not sticking to that, then you get an extra $600, and hey, we could be getting out of this credit card debt and then the car loan and start cycling out of this. Not the quickest in the world, but the next 2 years, you could probably get out of debt with some minimum and doing that. But we're not doing that. So step number 1 is budgeting. You're going to have to sit down after this. If you truly want to get out of debt and get out of credit card debt, get out of this car loan, and save up to be able to buy a house one day, you're going to have to figure out how to stick to a budget. And you can't sit here and say, hey, I'm going to wait till I'm making $100,000 a year. I'm going to wait till I'm making $80,000 a year. Because guess what? You were making $40,000 a year 12 months ago, and we got a pay increase to $60,000, and that money is still disappearing on us. So you have to start figuring out how do you live below your means on $3,600 a month, which with your rent right now, it's great that your rent is only 29% of your net income. If that was higher, if that was 50%, some people will have like 50% of their income going towards rent, which is a very difficult spot to get out of. Right now it's at 29%, which is great. Car loan and the credit card payments is taking up $820 or basically a month right now, which is not a small amount at all. Or $880 actually.
Would you suggest getting rid of the car?
That's an option. It depends on a few things. It depends on, one, you're upside down on it, which makes it a little more difficult. If it was worth $25,000 or $22,000 and you had $22,000 on it, I would say probably yes in a heartbeat. I would do that and then go buy a $10,000 car probably that lowers your monthly payment. That's still an option you can do. It depends if people will give you a loan with $3,000 upside down on the car already, and it might be a 20% or 25% interest rate. It also depends on, is public transportation an option for you? Are you in walking distance to school and things? I don't know. It depends on your situation. But looking at public transportation is also definitely an option. Because if you get rid of that car, you have $3,000 upside down on it. But then you have $500 less a month that can be going towards this credit card payment, and you could be out of debt in 6 months with $600 left over after this budget, plus the $500 in car payment that'd be going towards as well. So it's definitely an option, and I would shop it around. See if you get $22,000 for your car, then go get a beater car for a lot cheaper, then that's definitely something I'd look at, because a 16% interest rate on a car loan and a $528 a month car payment is not good. If it meant you were going to like a $450 car payment, I probably wouldn't go through the hassle of that. That means I'm never a fan of debt. So like, I don't want to sit here and tell you, hey, go get a car loan. But there's a rule the money guys use called the money guys. It's called the 23-8 rule. And it's you put 20% down on the car. You do a term of 3 years, no longer. Right now you're in 6 years. And then it's no more than, I think it's 8% of your gross income. So that would put you at about I guess your gross income is a little bit higher than this. Your gross income is about $5,000 a month. So that puts the monthly car payment they would allow for you is about $400, but it'd be on a 3-year term. So it'd get paid down a lot quicker than a 6-year term. So you'd be making actual headway on it. I'm never a fan of doing 6 years, 7 years, whatever. I'm never a fan of financing cars, but in an extreme situation where you go and finance a $10,000 car, if it fit in those guidelines, I wouldn't be mad about it because it would improve your current situation right now. It improved from a $20,000 car loan down to $10,000. That's going to be paid off in the next 3 years if you just make minimum payments. The goal would be paid off faster. But it all depends on what you can get for your car, what the new car loan would cost you in terms of interest rate and monthly payment, and how much of, and what that kind of looks like. So that's something you can definitely look at. I've talked to people that they have $10,000 in equity in their car and a $30,000 loan. I would sell the car immediately and just go buy a $10,000 car if I was in that situation, because I would wipe away $30,000 worth of debt. In your instance right now, you can't sell credit cards. You can't just sell that debt. But the car is something that you can, to your point is, can you go and get a cheaper car? Can you go do public transportation for 6 months? These are definitely things that you can actually do that can change your financial situation drastically. So if you only right now have $600 a month in margin, it's going to take a while to be able to do that. I think you could do it in 2 years without selling the car. But I think if you got rid of the car and got a smaller car payment on a 3-year term, $10,000 loan, something like that, then you'd be able to get out of this in the next 12 months versus the next 24 months. So that's definitely an option to look at.
Okay.
Where is the documents? Okay, so that was something to look at because that's a big chunk of your budget. Groceries, $250. That's not absurd. The gifts and donations, is this gifts for other people? What is the $300 a month for gifts and donations you put?
It goes toward church.
Go towards your church? Okay. You're giving towards your church. And I'm assuming you're giving 10% is why you're doing that? Okay. This is a conversation I have with people too, and it comes down to personal preference. Some people budge on this, some people don't. I know people that have paid off $100,000 worth of debt while giving 10% every single month. And I also know people that, hey, I put this on a pause until I get out of debt, so then that can help expedite my debt payoff. And then when I get out of debt, then I can give more money or play catch up. So that's also an option too. Is if you're giving 10% right now, and again, it depends on you. Some people will say, hey, I'm stuck on giving 10%. Others are saying, hey, I'm open to things. But if you got that $300 back that you were giving, then that's $300 a month that could go towards paying this debt off a lot quicker. And then once you're out of debt, okay, we're going to give $400 a month or $500 a month until you catch back up and make up for that time period. I'm not saying don't ever give again, but maybe it's for 5 months. Maybe it's for 10 months. And that $3,000 over 10 months, that can go a long way in paying off the car loan. That can go a long way in paying off the credit card debt. And then allow you some flexibility in your budget. So that's something I'd consider too. And it's or reduce it. Reduce it from 300 down to 50. If you want to make sure you're still giving money every single week, every single month, reduce it down to 50, reduce it down somewhat, so you can at least have some margin in your budget to be able to pay down this debt fast. Because the worst thing you can do is, hey, I'm going to cut this down to 50 and then go spend on my credit card and max out my credit card even more. You can't do that. It has to be very intentional. I'm going to cut this down so that I can pay down this debt faster, so then I can give more money in the future.
Discipline.
Is that something you thought about or open to?
Yes, definitely.
Something you can actively change quickly. It's not something that, hey, it's going to take months or years to change that $300 a month expense. But that's a decision you can make today. How I'm going to change it to $100. I'm going to change it to $50. And then guess what? The extra $200 is going to go towards this credit card debt. So you got $600 from just the buffer you have right now, plus an additional, we'll call it $250 from cutting the giving down for 6 or 12 months. So that's $850 that can go towards this credit card debt every single month. That makes a big difference. That allows you to pay it off a lot faster. And under about 7 to 8 months is the kind of timeline you'd be at for that. Versus $600, it's going to be prolonged a little bit longer, 10 months, 12 months, and you'll be a lot more encouraged as you see progress a lot faster. So, but the shopping at $50 doesn't sound like that's accurate, and the eating out for $0 does not sound like that's accurate. So we're going to have to dive into these expenses and figure out where all this money's going. So these are your statements from November. It looks like November 13th to the middle of December. Do you know how much money you took out of your bank account during this time period?
Probably most of it.
So you started the statement with $84 in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
You had $4,143 deposited in credits during that time period, and you withdrew $4,218. So you're left with $9.58 in your bank account at the end of the statement period. That is playing with fire right there with $9 in your bank account in the statement. And you're making more money. Where's all this money going? Let's take a look at this. So what are all these Cash App purchases for Casio, Georgia?
Money going toward a relative.
Okay, so you're helping relatives when you need help right now financially. And that kind of goes back to the church thing is like you're trying to help other people when you need help yourself. And it's the same with airplanes is you're trying to put other people's masks on before you put your own on. And you're given your current financial situation, you're not really in a spot to be able to help others because you can't help yourself. You can't retire 15 years from now right now if you continue on this pace. You're going to retire, you're going to have $0 in your retirement account. You're going to have credit card debt. You're going to have a car loan. That's not something I want you to be in. And I want you to be there for family. I want you to be there for friends. I want you to help them after this, learn how to budget, understand their finances to help them improve. But giving money is just going to further delay your financial success too. And I know it's hard because it's family and you love them and want to help them, but it's at the same time, it's just destroying you because you're giving away at least $100 in the first 2 days of the statement to these individuals.
Okay.
So that's something, again, you have to figure out. How can you help them? Is it helping them find jobs? Is it helping them understand their budget and understand how to live below their means? Is it helping them in other ways? But giving money is just hurting you in these situations. So,
okay.
And then we got on here, and if you're debt free, if you have extra money coming every single month and you want to say, I'm going to set aside $100 a month to help family members or $150 or $200, whatever it is, I have no problem with that. I have a problem with it when you're in debt, when you can't breathe because you have $9 in your bank account in the statement period and you're giving away $100, $200 a month to people that I don't know their financial situation, but you're also not in a great financial situation yourself. And you're just kind of helping someone else when that could be going towards paying off your debt to get you in a spot where then you can actually help people, whether it's your church or it's other people in need financially. So,
yes.
So eating out is a big thing on here. I got Dunkin' for $3, Dunkin' for $12. I've got Dunkin' for $12 again, KFC for $9, Uber Eats for $34, Uber Eats for $6, McDonald's for $17. Why are we eating out so much?
I don't know.
Do you cook at home ever?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you this. You're not going to like it because we're Uber Eating every other meal and eating out, but you can't afford to eat out right now. I mean, the cost of eating out, especially Uber Eats, you have 2 transactions on the same day. I'm assuming it's for the same thing. It might be the tip. I don't know. But $40 in Uber Eats in a single day. A meal doesn't cost $40 to go to the grocery store and get some chicken, get some ground beef, get whatever you eat, pasta, rice, and fix it. So you're paying the service fee of Uber Eats, you're paying the tip, you're paying whatever extra taxes and stuff the restaurant put on there as well, but you're overpaying for stuff that you can cook at home and not spend this much money on food. And eating out is not a necessity. Eating out is a luxury because if you have money that you can spend on eating out, then great. But if you have $6,000 worth of credit card debt, you're basically financing your food at this point because you're choosing to Uber Eats, to eat at McDonald's versus, hey, I'm going to eat at home, save money, and pay down this credit card debt. Afterpay. Okay, Afterpay, Klarna. What are you doing on Afterpay and Klarna?
Shopping.
So that's where the shopping problem comes in. It's the same thing. Afterpay and Klarna are debt. No matter what way you skin the cat, it is debt because you're borrowing money, even if it's at 0%. If you miss a payment, whatever it is, you are paying, it is debt. 0% debt, but it's debt because it's coming out every single month. You're borrowing money for it. And the worst thing is, it's probably one of the best marketing tactics out there because you're like, oh, I can buy this for $6 today. The other $6 will come out next week. Another $6 a couple weeks from now. Phenomenal marketing technique. But it causes you to spend so much more money than you can afford. And right now, in this single day, we have 5 transactions between Klarna and Afterpay. That is $12, $18, $45, $50 worth of payments in a single day. So if those are split up into 4 payments, that's $200 in shopping that I'm assuming is not necessities. You know what it is? Don't even know what it is exactly. So that's probably not a necessity. So that's something also that has to stop. Eating out and Afterpay, buy now, pay later is atrocious for your financial situation because it just makes you spend money that you don't have. Are you open to stop? Do you want to stop shopping?
Yes, I do.
SiriusXM, $6 a month. I would cancel that. You got a radio in your car. Get Pandora, it's free. There's free tiers of music stuff. No reason to have SiriusXM. Another way to save $6 a month. What is, on November 24th, there's $404. It was credit one. What is that? Do you know what that transaction was?
Oh, that was paying my credit card.
That's paying your credit card. Okay. Good. $400 going to your credit card. You got another afterpay for $24 on the 24th. And we have another afterpay for $5 on the 24th. Another afterpay on the 27th for $5. How many afterpays are on here? And these aren't even the second payments, I don't think, because they're different amounts.
I'm willing to shopping.
There's 11 afterpay payments in a 7-day time frame.
Wow.
That's got to stop. If you want any chance to get out of this debt, if you want any chance to build wealth and buy a house one day, which I want for you, Afterpay is going to have to stop. Are any of these on Amazon, or are they all just different shopping websites?
Different websites.
Different websites, okay. Dunkin' again for $13. Chipotle for $26. KFC for $19. What is Right Direction for $263?
Oh, that's my car payment. It's bi-weekly, not monthly.
Oh, it's bi-weekly. Okay. What is Premier Bank Card?
Credit card.
Okay, those are all debit card payments. Okay, so you're paying, looks like you're making more payments than the minimum payments on the credit cards.
Yes.
Because we have, this is $1,000 worth of payments towards those. Public storage, $100. What do we have in storage right now? What can we sell in that storage unit right now?
I took it out.
Okay, so it's gone, no more storage unit?
Right, no more storage unit.
Beautiful. We have something for auto. Afterpay again. I think these are the extra Afterpay payments coming in. What is especially yours for $202?
That's a catalog.
Shopping?
Yes.
Again, so shopping, we are north of, I don't even know how much this month. Way too much money. Every shopping under the sun, you've got clothes on your back. I'm assuming you got clothes in your closet. You've been on this earth for 50 years. I'm assuming you got clothes in your drawer that you can wear for the next 12 months and not buy another single piece of clothing.
Yes.
So that's something you're going to have to work hard on, because it's going to change your life if you stop that. Right now, we're hundreds of dollars in shopping this month, and that money can be going towards paying off this credit card, can go and paying off the car, and getting you out of this situation. We got Chick-fil-A for $23, pizza for $32, Uber Eats again for $31, more pizza for $13, more Dunkin' for $3, more Afterpay for $12, more Dunkin' for $3. And so during this time, it was $4,200 in debits out of your bank account. It looks like about $1,000 of it was towards credit card payments, which is great, which is over your minimum payments, but we're still overspending on shopping and some things. And if you can open up $300, $400 more a month on these things by cutting these expenses down, that's going to change drastically your financial future. And then on the income side, we have a bunch of different Zelle payments. What are all those for coming into your account?
That's when I borrowed money from my mom.
Okay, so your mom was Venmoing you or Zelling you money?
Yes.
And that's something I want you. You're 51 years old. I don't want you to have to be asking your mom to borrow money right now. Your mom has her own things to worry about in her life, and she needs to not give you money, because then that's just enabling you to go and shop, because she gave you $100 at least during this time period. And by her giving you $100, that's going right out the door towards shopping. And that's something you can say, hey, Mom, I have a shopping problem, and by you giving me money on Zelle, that is enabling me with my shopping addiction. You need to cut me off when I ask you for money, because that's going to help me, because that's going to help you, because you're not going to have as much money to spend on shopping. Right now, her giving you money, that's putting money in your account that you think you can spend, when really that money, I'd be fine that was you to pay your bills, to make ends meet because you don't have a job. I could have that conversation. But right now, that is money coming into you that's going right out the door towards shopping.
I'm not accepting money from her any longer.
Good. You can tell her too, have your mom or if you another family member be your cheerleader in this. It's not easy to go about this alone. So if you have a cheerleader and it's like, hey, my goal is to pay off this credit card debt by July 31st. I want you to be my cheerleader and ask me every single week for an update. Or you set a reminder on your phone, hey, text mom or text whoever, hey, I paid $500 extra to my credit card statement this month. Or I paid an extra $1,000. And keep them posting on that progress to hold you accountable. It's a lot. It'll put more pressure on you, and it'll hold you accountable to start making change. So on this credit card, this one has a balance of $693. You paid down $325, but then you spent $232 on it. So you did pay more than the minimum, but then we racked it back up with $231 in purchases. So when it comes to credit cards, you're not winning the credit card game right now, because you are paying an absorbent amount in credit card interest. And so my suggestion to you would be, you're worried about getting your credit utilization down by paying these down. The best thing to help with your credit card debt and credit score is to not carry a balance. And that means, in my opinion, what I do is close these accounts. If you want to keep one, put it in a block of ice and put it in the freezer so you can never swipe it, I'm open to that. But by you keeping, I think you have multiple different credit cards open, it's just allowing you to swipe money you don't have right now. And so there should be no reason you're swiping a card that has a balance right now. And moving forward, you need to not do that, because yes, you did a great job paying $325 towards this card payment, but then you put another $232 on. So you really only made $100 of progress. And you just need to stop doing it. I mean, last year alone on this one card, you spent $272 in interest. So $20 a month in interest going straight to this card company. And it looks like you bought TSA pre-check, which if you got $6,000 with credit card debt, you shouldn't be traveling, you shouldn't be flying anywhere. So that was unnecessary expense. We have, what is Studio Boston for $150? Maps Studio Boston.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either, but it's $150 you got charged on November 13th. Those are the main transactions during that, and then one $3 transaction at Dollar Tree. On the next card, you paid $460 on this card. Your balance before this was $0 on this card, but you spent $1,474 on this card during the statement period. So you had a card that was paid off, and you went and spent about $1,500 on this card during this time period.
Okay.
And so now you got a $104 minimum payment due on this card because you went out and spent $1,500. Oh, this is a balance. You did a balance transfer. That's what happened. It looks like you transferred a card from a balance from another card.
Mm-hmm.
And on here again, there's another Studio Boston. What is it? Says Maps Studio Boston, and I guess it's Square that it uses. But you have a $285 transaction on this one, and so you had $150 on the other account, $285 on this account. So that's $400 and some change on a transaction that we don't know what it is. So that's something you investigate and figure out what is this, because that's not a small amount of money. We've got Hulu on here, and you've got Sling on the other account. Another thing that
I don't have those anymore.
good. Okay, we've started making some progress then, cutting out all the different subscriptions. And on the interest on this card, you paid $351 last year on this card so far.
Oh, wow.
So far we're over $600 in interest. On this other card, you had a balance of $148. You paid $162 down, but then you spent $144, leaving you a balance of $130. What is, okay, this has, you got to know what this is, because this has Map Studio Boston again for $110.
Oh, I think that's a studio in Boston.
What's the studio for?
It's for modeling.
It's for modeling?
Yeah.
Okay, so $600 in the studio time. Where's the income associated with that?
You mean income associated with spending the money?
Yes.
They're the ones that got the money. I didn't get any income from it.
That's what I'm saying. Why are you spending $600 on a studio if you're not making any money off of it?
It was for a photo package.
3 different times?
Yeah.
And you didn't have any pictures prior to this that you could have used?
On my phone.
Jacqueline, right now, I mean, these are the things you have to decide right now. Is like, yes, I understand if you're trying to pursue a modeling career or whatever it might be, is there are things that need to go into it, but you spent $600 on this when we got $6,000 worth of credit card debt. It's just, these are the things you have to choose. That is a tenth of your credit card debt gone if you didn't spend that money. And I'm assuming there's probably other costs hidden elsewhere with those things. But I'm never a fan of trying to start a business, trying to further your career using debt. And that's what we're doing right now with all of these. On this card, you spent $53 on interest last year. How many different credit cards do you have? I would close them all, honestly. This is, 1, too complex, way too many cards. 2, you've shown that you can't trust yourself with credit cards because you've had balances for years. And 3, your credit score doesn't matter because it's probably already not great because we've been carrying a balance for so long, continue to rack up utilization. The best thing for you right now would be get out of debt, and that'll help your credit score improve. But on this one, you had a 0 balance on it coming in the month. You spent $1,500 during the statement period. And now your balance ended at $1,500. And on this, we have Klarna for $20. We've got Popeyes for $14. We've got your AT&T bill for $188. Why is your AT&T bill $188?
That's just a one-time starter bill.
Is that for a phone, for internet?
For 2 phones.
Why do you got 2 phones?
One's for me and one's for someone else.
Okay, so you're helping other people out with that. Again, that's also not in your budget. That's one of the things we're missing in your budget right now. I mean, that's got to be accounted for phone plans. We got more Klarna for $29. We've got, what is Coach House rent for $750? Is that your actual rent?
No, that was an apartment that I was going to move to. However, I decided not to move there, so I was refunded that.
Okay, you're refunded? Good. Okay, because that's half of the stuff on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's Credit Saint?
It's a credit repair company.
So you're paying them $60 a month to repair your credit or try to repair your credit. Frankly, the best way to improve your credit is to get yourself out of debt and improve your credit yourself. I mean, this is $60 that could go in towards paying down this debt faster. I would personally be more in the ballpark of that. There's a lot of credit card companies or credit repair companies out there, and I can't tell you if this one's good or not. I don't really care to. The point of paying $60 a month to try to fix your problems when your problem's not your credit score, the problem is overspending. And your credit score is a direct reflection of how good you are at paying back debt. And right now we're not in a good spot because we're carrying high utilization on our credit cards. We're overspending. We've been paying our minimum payments for years and continuing to carry on a balance. So you're better off, in my eyes, not doing that and focusing all your money and energy towards paying off this debt to improve your credit score. And frankly, right now, your credit score doesn't matter. Credit score matters when you are trying to buy a house and it will help you get a lower interest rate, trying to get a car lower interest rate, or sometimes your landlord looks at it for rent. And you're not buying a house anytime soon, or at least you shouldn't be, because your financials are not in order for that. Not financing a car because we already have a $22,000 car loan that we have to take care of. But there might be a world to trade it in or figure out how can you get a lower payment on that. That's definitely in the ballpark. But credit score only matters when you're trying to take out debt. And that's not something you need to be going after. You should not be opening new credit cards. You should not be getting a personal loan. You should not be getting a new car loan for $50,000. You should not be going to apply for a mortgage right now. So your credit score for the next, as far as, and you're already in an apartment, so you're not trying to rent a new place right now. As far as I'm concerned, your credit score is not going to matter for the current future until you get your finances in order. And by getting your finances in order, it's going to help improve your credit score. So those are the main transactions. I mean, during this statement period, you got the $750 back, but we got $750 on one card. We've got $162 on another card. We've got $1,400 on another card. We've got $232 on another card. And then we have all your debit card transactions, another $3,000. So I can't even do math right now. My head hurts looking at that. So that's over $5,000 you spent last month when you're making $3,600. That's not sustainable, Jacqueline. That's not.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it anymore.
And you can't do it because these cards are getting maxed out, it looks like. I mean, your credit limit's not high enough to do it. And I don't want you to open up new accounts, but these are things, obviously we can't change the past. I'm just trying to point out these are things that you can change moving forward. You can stop the Klarna payments. You can stop shopping or studio time or any of the things that you're doing that are non-necessities. You can stop the eating out. And these are things that are going to affect your budget by hundreds of dollars every single month that can be then going towards paying down this debt. And so the first thing you have to do is start budgeting. Budgeting is the key. There's tools and platforms out there that help automate it. They'll start tagging stuff. Hey, Kroger or Publix is groceries. This is your rent. This is your car payment. And it does a lot of the work for you. There's some upfront work that has to get it set up. Once it's set up, it's pretty easily and streamlined. I use a platform called Copilot. It's phenomenal. I started using it 30 days ago. And frankly, it's better than the platform I used before.
Okay.
And right now, looking at 6 different credit cards and your different bank account statements, it's very confusing how much money you're spending on different things. Because we have your studio time split across 3 different cards. We've got Klarna payments split across all the different cards. You have food split across all the different cards. And if you look at one single account, it doesn't look that bad. When you add them all together and categorize it, it looks atrocious. And so by using a budgeting tool that kind of brings them all together, it helps you see where you're spending money and what you're spending on. And it can help you cut down your spending drastically.
Currently, I only owe Afterpay $73 in total, and I only owe Klarna $150. And once I pay them down, I'm not going to get anything else.
Good. These are things that you're going to have to do and stick to. And so budgeting is the first thing you have to do. What I would do if I was you too is you have to simplify your finances. We have 6 different credit cards. You can't use a credit card responsibly. So I personally would be closing those credit cards and focusing on just paying them down. If you want to keep one open, put in a block of ice, put in the freezer somewhere you can never swipe it under any circumstances for an emergency, that's fine. But the other 5, get rid of immediately. And I would do the one probably with the smallest limit to refrain you from spending money crazily. And so once you start budgeting, you're then going to have to figure out a plan to pay down the debt. Are you familiar with the debt snowball method?
Yes.
Okay, so I would be going after the debt snowball method because we've had this debt for a while and you've got so many different debts in terms of the credit cards. You have 6 different debts. So you'd be listing them out from smallest to largest and attacking paying the minimum payments across all of them and attacking the smallest payment with all of your might. And the smallest one, based on this time period, I don't know where they are right now since this was about a month ago, but you have a $630 balance, you have a $1,100 balance, you have a $130 balance, I think is the smallest one, you have a $1,400 balance. So you'd be listing these from smallest to largest. The $130 one would be to pay off the first pay period and then start attacking the other ones. And you're going to start seeing, okay, I stopped these accounts, I closed them, I paid off one, great. Now move to the next one. Knock that off in the next month or 2. Great. And then move to the next one. Now hope you get some momentum and you're like, okay, I've paid off 2 or 3 credit cards. Let's knock out these next 3. And then you're going to feel momentum and be like, okay, I'm really not going to go shopping this month. I'm really not going to eat out this month because I want to pay these things off and be done with them. So that's the next thing when it comes after budget is you have to start paying down your debt. And what's worrisome right now is I don't know what's in your bank account right now. You said about $200. On here, it's a little bit lower, but the worst thing you can do is go back into debt as you start paying off debt or start allowing yourself to do it. So what Dave Ramsey teaches, he says $1,000 your emergency fund. Other people say 1 month of expenses. Personally, I'm kind of a fan of Dave Ramsey's $1,000 because no, that's not enough for an emergency fund if your car breaks down or something happens. But guess what? That's going to light a fire in your butt and not put you $3,000 in your bank account that you can go swipe on McDonald's, go swipe on Afterpay. And so it's going to really cause you to be tight with your money and really think about it. So I'd be saving up $1,000 in emergency fund and then start attacking the debt. If you want to save $1,500 just because you could, but frankly, I don't trust you to have an extra $500 in your bank account because you've been living with $200 in your bank account for the last however long. And so I'd be keeping that as bare bones as possible, about $1,000. So if a tire goes out or you need something that is a medical emergency, something you have the money to pay for it, and we're not opening up new credit cards, not going back into debt. So then you have to start hustling to pay down the debt. And that involves keeping the budgets down to the bare minimum, to the necessities, and start making progress on the credit cards. Once the credit cards are paid off, and that can be done, I think, if you cut it down drastically, I think you should have over $700 a month, $800 a month, maybe more, to go towards the credit card debt. You should be able to pay that off in the next 6 to 8 months. Faster if you can figure out ways to cut your expenses down a little bit more. And then after that is the car. The car is something you really have to start thinking about. There are options, and I would definitely look at my options. What can I sell it for? Look around, do some research. Can you sell it for 22? Can you sell it for 20? Can you take it to a car place and they'll trade it in and value it at 22 and get you a new car at $10,000 that's a comparable or lower interest rate and cut your monthly payment down? That's something I would look at because that would open up your cash flow on it. I'm never a fan of going into debt, but you already have $22,000 worth of car loan. So if that was going down to $10,000, dropped your monthly payment, your interest rate was the same or lower, and the term on the car was shorter than 6 years, I'm for it. So look at the 23-8 rule that I'll send you for the money guys. I think it's a phenomenal guide. You follow that for a $10,000 or a $12,000 car. I think it would be in your best interest to get rid of the car. And then guess what? When you're out of debt and have a paid off car, then you can start figuring out, do I want to save more money for another car? But that's the next thing you have to attack. Because 16% interest on a car loan, you can't even think about investing when you have a 16% interest rate on your car loan. So these are the things you really have to start thinking about. And you're 51 years old. Social Security is 67, the retirement age right now. So we've got 16 years to figure out how to pay all this debt as quickly as possible to start saving for retirement. And I know you said you want to work after that age. And frankly, right now, you're going to be in a situation you're going to have to. So, but I want you to be in the best possible situation that you can possibly be 16 years from now versus, hey, I'm going to start figuring this out when I'm 60. I don't want you to wake up when you're 67 and have $6,000 worth of credit card debt, not able to work, trying to live off Social Security with a $500 a month car payment and $350 a month in credit card bill. So these are things you need to start taking action on. Figure out what is your plan to pay the credit card debt off in the next 6 months. I would set a goal. It might mean going to get a job on the weekends. It might mean to get an extra couple $100 a month. It might go work at a retail place or a grocery store or something to get an extra couple $100 a month. That's going to go a long way to paying this debt off. And then the car loan. Figure out what is your best solutions with a car loan in terms of paying that off, in terms of trading that in for getting a lower balance. What is someone going to approve you for? Are they going to approve you for a $10,000 car loan? If you're upside down on the car and add an extra $1,000, $2,000 on there. And then from there, and I would set your goal of car loan, whether it's the current car or the next car, next 18 to 24 months out of debt completely, because time is not on your side right now when it comes to saving for retirement. So I'd be setting, that means you're going to be working at least one shift on the weekends on Saturdays or Sundays to make some extra money to go towards both of these things. You're going to be eating out none, and you're not going to be shopping at all. Once the car is paid off, you got to start figuring out about investing. And I'm telling you, you can't save or invest for retirement right now because your interest rate is 16%. And the average return of the stock market and index funds is about 10%. So you can't go and invest and earn 10% with a risk when you have a 16% interest rate on it. So you have to get out of this debt before you can start investing. And then once you're out of debt, then you have to start investing as rapidly as possible in a 401k, in a Roth IRA. Figure out what are some catch-up things that you have the ability to do, because they do have, I think it started at 50, you have higher limits. I think you have higher limits, on your 401k, and I think Roth IRA, you have higher limits for catch-ups when you're 50 and over that when you participate in those types of plans. So I'd be trying to figure out how to max those out as much as possible. But first and foremost, we can't really talk too much about investing when we have a big kind of issue in terms of debt we have to figure out before we can even get to that. So over the next 24 months, as you're getting out of debt, you have to start learning as much as possible about investing. But please do not go invest. Please do not go and buy a house until we're out of this debt, because you need to be paying off this debt as quickly as possible, then saving up a fully funded emergency fund, and then we start talking about investing and saving for a house and anything else in the future.
Okay, sounds good.
Drastic changes need to happen when it comes to shopping, when it comes to eating out, when it comes to giving money to people when you can't pay your own bills right now. And then once that's done, all the debt's paid off, then the fun starts with saving and investing. But it's going to have to be a rapid and a intense process moving forward too, because you're behind. You're 51. We got none in retirement, and retirement age is 16 years from now. So it's time to start making those changes now so that I want this for you. I want you to be able to buy a house one day. I want you to be able to enjoy life and not stress about money. Frankly, I think I might be more stressed about your finances talking about it right now than you are. But I want you to be in a spot where you don't have to worry about paying the credit card bill. You don't have to worry about, can I afford this? And so my hope for you is this was beneficial in terms of just analyzing, understanding, hey, I'm overspending these areas. These are some things that I can do to change my financial situation, ways to get out of debt.
I've already changed a lot of things that those statements don't show, like in terms of spending and things like that. So thank you so much.